Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Bavro and Austin Underground. Jerry's just throwing me off left and right this morning, but I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, like we are every single day right here on Coffee and Football. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We got a big show today. Going to be joined by Texas baseball head coach Jim Schlossnagle here in just a little bit, guys. But we got to talk
Tony Hills today too, talking about Nicholas Robertson. Oh no, it's something with Hills
tomorrow.
What day are you?
April Fool's Day.
Oh man, but we do have a lot to talk about. But let's start with some history being made last night as Texas, for the first time in over 20 years, heads to the Final Four, guys. Congratulations.
Jerry, they just overwhelmed TCU on defense from the start. TCU, and you had said this, a really good outside shooting team, and they showed that they could shoot it. Texas just denied the passing lanes so well that, I mean, look, 21 turnovers they forced last night, the Lady Longhorns, on their way to a little bit of a runaway victory there at the end. TCU cut it to 6 late in the game, but a Maddie Booker jumper off an inbounds play stretched it back out to 8, and then the Horned Frogs really never came close again. But congratulations to Vic Schaefer and his crew. Rory Harmon had a tremendous first half and was a tremendous defender all game long against Haley Von Liff, their star player over at TCU. But good stuff. Texas women's basketball headed to the Final Four. Congratulations to Coach Vic.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to Coach Vic and the women there at Texas. Unbelievable season for them. 4th meeting coming up with South Carolina. We talked about last year or during football season how many times did Texas and Georgia play. We weren't even thinking about South Carolina and Texas in women's basketball. They're about to play for the 4th time this season, coming up in the Final Four. There's Vic, his 3rd time he's cut down those nets. First at Texas, 5 years in to get to that first Final Four at Texas. Great job. That was the most violations, turnovers, just call them turnovers on inbounds passing or passes or plays I've seen in a while. TCU really, really struggled getting the ball inbounds and getting into sets. The Texas pressure did a great job of pushing TCU's offense out, and they didn't start a lot of times. They didn't get into half-court sets a lot of times, so there was 18 seconds left on the shot clock. I mean, they did a great job, 17, 18, sometimes a little less. Texas did a great job there. Look, Rory Harmon and Madison Booker hit some big shots down the stretch. Neither team shot the ball well. But what Vic has been able to do, and we talked about it going in because this stuff's all about matchups, is he's been able to get the games in his pace, in his style and his pace. And as long as he can do that, you can win every game because Texas is good enough to win every game. Now you're going to get into a Final Four game with South Carolina, which we'll be talking about in Tampa, where they're just going to pack the paint. They say, okay, we'll play at your pace. So then it's going to come down to who makes more shots in a game like that. But Vic's done a great job against teams that wanted to play faster, wanted to shoot a lot of threes, wanted to get Texas into a different style of basketball. He has maintained his style of play. And he has won the battle of pace and style of play thus far in the NCAA tournament. And congrats to him, because I do think this. I think he is, no matter what happens in the Final Four game, if they get to a national championship, no matter how the season ends, when you consider that he lost probably a second leading scorer before, who didn't play all year, the Layla Filia, the transfer from Michigan, who's taken a medical redshirt, and then Aaliyah Moore's been injured a lot of the season. He's maximized this team. I mean, he lost 2 starters, and one was going to be a second leading scorer, and he's still in the Final Four. He's maximized this team. No matter what happens this next game or the next 2 games, no matter how this season finishes, Vic Schaefer has done his job as a coach because he's maximized the team he has in front of him.
Just a couple of memorable performances. Maddie Booker led the way in scoring, but I felt like it was a team effort in part, Jerry. Some of the more memorable plays, Kayla Oldacre going the length of the court, the big center going the length of the court and drawing the fifth foul on Sedona Prince, putting her out of the game with 7 minutes to go in the game. Oldacre got an and one on that play too, and really gave Texas a shot in the arm when the Longhorns needed it. TCU had been hanging around during that time period. And then I think Guanatonda had a tremendous third quarter to kind of give Texas some breathing room as well. It wasn't just Rory Harmon and Madison Booker. It was a group of them. Jordan Lee, I thought the freshman had a really good game as well. Shea Holly was in there. Taylor Jones had some key plays. Look, to your point, Jerry, they are a team, and they're playing as a team. Doesn't mean they're perfect, because they're not. They have their warts, just like everybody. But happy to be talking about a Final Four appearance. Schaefer. Hey, before we go to our first commercial break, Blake, one of the things that Coach Schaefer's been on our show multiple times. I personally love his attitude, the way he talks, et cetera, and communicates to young people and to Texas fans as well. He had a post-game interview last night that we want to share with you guys that gives you a real glimpse into the kind of coach he is and what he pours into this. Blake, if you don't mind, and make sure the volume's up, bud.
Yep. I gotcha.
Don't mute it, Blake.
9 days, by the way.
I know I'm not their world, but they are my world. They say, it's not who you are, it's what you do. This is who I am. This is what I've done for all my life. My family has suffered at times because I put so much into this. A wonderful wife. I've got 2 beautiful kids. But this is what I do and who I am. And you invest so much. You invest your heart and soul into these kids. You want it so badly for them. But sometimes it's hard to show them, especially if they've not been there. And you're going against, I think Sedona's a 7th year. She's at least 6. Van Lith is 5. That's 2 veterans, and they got great players around them. And so I'm just proud of this group, man. That is Texas fight right there. That's what we're all about.
Good stuff. Thanks, Blake, for putting that up. Gives you a sense of who that dude is, man. All right. Since this is our friends over at Austin Underground, Rick Vavro has been sponsoring On Texas Football for more than a year now. We appreciate him and his team at Austin Underground very much. Since 2004, they have specialized in difficult underground commercial installations. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider too risky. Rick and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. And I would be remiss if I did not mention this for Rick. He has opened up a bar up in Jonestown, Texas. So if you're up near the lake up there and want to go have a cool one, make sure you stop by the Lone Star Bar. Rick is an entrepreneur at heart, and he put a lot of TLC into that bar up in Jonestown. Again, the Lone Star Bar. Thanks, Rick, buddy. We appreciate you, man.
Okay, guys. Well, we do have a lot more to talk about this morning. And, man, the chat is lively. Jerry, I'm going to let you talk about the portal. Sounds like Texas may have a visitor here soon.
Yeah, on the basketball side, Dalen Swain in town yesterday and through a little bit of today. Took him out to Hula Hut, did all the stuff with Dalen Swain, the Xavier transfer. We'll see which way that goes, Texas or Ohio State. Obviously, Sean Miller recruited him out of the Columbus, Ohio area, beat out Virginia Tech, Ohio State, and some others originally out of high school for him. Now Ohio State's trying to beat Sean Miller out for Dalen Swain, who's a really, really good basketball player. Will be a pro on some level. And then Ryan Conwell's scheduled to be in late today, early tomorrow. So he begins his visit. That's the 6'3.5" guard, 6'4" guard out of Xavier, who's going to decide expected to decide between Texas and Indiana. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this recruit. One of the better shooters in the country. It's what's interesting for me about a recruit like this is in the portal, guys. What if the number gets really, really high from Indiana? And you can get 2 players that would be at Texas for 2 years.
Yeah.
Instead of 1 player that would be at Texas for 1 year. This is where the portal gets very interesting for me, because these guys have to make some real decisions on, Bobby, from an NIL perspective. Do you take the guy who's a really good player for 1 year, or do you get 2 guys who would be in your program for 2 years for the same price? That's what all these guys are trying to balance in the portal nowadays. And but Ryan Conwell's scheduled to be on campus later today, tomorrow. Dalen Swain's on campus now, finishing up his visit. They may have one more visitor in, but I was wrong on the dead period. The dead period actually begins Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. So it's actually less time to bring visitors in, because it goes dead through the Final Four, and then it opens up again next week. But Texas they've talked to, 45, 50 kids in the portal. And that's the starting point. And then it gets real when you bring them in for official visits. And I think Texas will end up bringing in a number of guys. Rex St. Charles said, why not both? I mean, it's Bobby. It's like, I don't know. I mean, like, you're not going to have a $12 million roster in basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. It's something that everybody is dealing with right now.
Yeah.
Frankly, these coaches are having to rebuild their rosters within I want to say a salary cap of sorts, at least, even if it's all NIL right now and not through the House settlement. So they've got to figure that out in the next, they're being asked to do this fairly quickly. Sean Miller has very little understanding or knowledge of the existing players on the roster. He played Texas one time, so he knows Tremont Mark, Kendall Weaver, and Jordan Pope. Beyond that, he has very little knowledge, and he has to go out there and build a team. So we'll see what happens. The other news that is interesting to me in the world of the portal, and this surprised some folks yesterday. Texas has emerged as a player. Texas football team has emerged as a player for a defensive end edge prospect from Stanford. Stanford just fired their coach last week. That means that all players can go into the portal immediately. Well, David Bailey is one of those players that went into the portal. He is considered the number 1 prospect on Stanford's team. He's not just a guy. He's their best player. Had 7 sacks a year ago. Coming out of high school, he's ranked the number 34 player in the country by one recruiting service, just to give you a sense of it. And immediately, he visited Texas Tech. He's visiting Texas supposedly today. He's got a couple other visits, or at least one other visit lined up as well. The immediate question is, why would Texas want or need another defensive end when they have a loaded defensive end room? Well, here's the answer. You can always get better. I said this. The edge position at Texas is a team strength. It can be even stronger. And I think that Steve Sarkisian, we talked about this, they're going to look to go after guys that they think can get after the quarterback, period. You can never have enough pass rushers, ever.
I would say this. One, the guy's a tremendous player, and you don't pass up tremendous players.
Ever.
And this doesn't have anything to do about the talent, the depth in your program. What it does, because Texas has really good edge players, and they have good guys coming up. What it does, though, is, look, a guy like Colton Vosick, he hasn't been healthy. And he's out this spring. So as good as Colton Vosick is when he's healthy, he hasn't been healthy for an extended period of time. So, that's part of it too, is, the guy that may be number 3 in your rotation going in the next year, he hasn't been healthy since he's been at Texas. So do you want to be in a position where you're depending on him? And a tremendous prospect and player when he's healthy. But if you're sitting in a coach's office and you're sitting there saying, well, he's out this spring, he's a really good player, we just can't get him healthy, that's a tough bargain to take when your expectations are to play 16 games every year.
Yep.
And so David Bailey's a tremendous player, first of all. And I said, because I said it last night on our live stream, and I'm not saying it's the same, but when Alabama had Will Anderson and Dallas Turner opposite each other, they were the most formidable pass rush in the country. If you put David Bailey and Colin Simmons out there together, that would be really, really difficult for people. And I mean, that it just goes to, hey, we try to maximize your team every single season and be the best team you can be. And if a tremendous player happens to jump into the portal, can be a difference maker on any team, no matter how talented you are, you got to take a strong look at it.
Let me ask you this, Jerry. The idea that Texas last year, for example, did they really need Andrew Makuba? They were pretty strong at safety. Michael Taft was a returning starter. Derek Williams was a returning starter. Jelani McDonald was coming in. Did they really need Andrew Makuba? How valuable was he, though?
Yeah.
On the surface, you didn't need Andrew Makuba.
Yeah, on paper.
Yep. On paper, end of the day, how happy were you that you had him? Right? Little bit different maybe this year with Edge, because I think there's a little bit more proven commodity there. But that's one of the issues that I would say. You never have enough when someone gets injured, ever. I mean, it happens every year. The next piece that I would say to people that this is indicative of, Sark has a year in, year out thought process, along with Brandon Harris, the GM. They push all their chips to the middle of the table every year. That's what this kind of thing is. Like, if you can get an inch better, get an inch better. It's not going to hurt anything to go after this. So I'm impressed by them going after somebody. And look, he's the best player on their team. Would you like to go around and add the best player on 10 different college football teams? Yeah, the answer is yes. So that's David Bailey. He's coming in today, visiting with the Longhorns after visiting Texas Tech yesterday.
And we got some other football news and notes to talk about, guys, including some bad news, it sounds like. Bobby, I'm going to let you take that.
Yeah, absolutely. So yesterday we broke the news that Ryan Wingo is out for the rest of spring. He's sidelined with a hamstring injury. He could come back late in the spring is what I'm told, but they're going to let it fully heal. That means that all these young receivers are going to get opportunities this spring camp. Parker Livingston has already stepped up. CJ Vogel reporting that yesterday the starting wide receivers for Texas were Parker Livingston, Jamie French, young man out of Jacksonville, Florida, and Dalen McCutcheon out of Lovejoy. A little bit of a surprise there, considering Khalil Lockett, Michael Terry were rated over him coming out of high school. But those three guys were the starters to begin Monday's practice in the absence of Ryan Wingo, who will be sidelined. Additionally, Jordan Washington, the tight end from the University of Texas that is fighting for the starting job this year, has been hampered a little bit by a shoulder injury / labrum issue. We are told that he's going to get an MRI and see where that's at. Jerry and I have also heard of another injury on the defensive side of the ball. We're not going to name that name at this point, but I believe it's a hand injury that could be sidelining somebody for a little bit of time, but it shouldn't hurt their overall development at this point. But some negative news, frankly. But 4 practices in, things are going to happen.
Can I raise my hand and say why would I take David Bailey?
Yep.
I mean, that's why.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy's a tremendous football player. And guys, I mean, look at even though it's the spring, DeAndre Moore and Ryan Winger are out for the spring. What happens? Heaven forbid.
Yep.
Colin Simmons has a 3-game high ankle sprain. And Ethan Burke's shoulder pops out. Like, where are you at? I mean, that's why you pushed your chips to the table. David Bailey's a future NFL draft pick and probably a top 3 round guy. If that guy wanted to come to Texas, if you can get him and it makes your team better and gives you a better chance to win the national championship next year, do it 100% of the time in football, because there's just too many injuries in football. It's too unpredictable. Long seasons.
and people will get into, well, that may hinder the development of some younger guys or take snaps away from younger guys. Here's what Sark has to say to that. And I think it's the thing to say. Don't focus on how many snaps you get. Focus on what you do with the snaps you get.
Yeah.
Make those the best you can do. And I think that is important overall, in my opinion.
Okay, we got some super chats that I want to read, guys. First, this one from Maddie M. Thank you, Maddie. Good morning, guys. Congrats to women's basketball for the Final Four berth. Every time Van Lith had the ball, I was screaming at the TV, "Don't let her drive left." Proud to have Coach Vic and these ladies represent UT Nation, hook 'em, and beat South Carolina.
Nice. Maddie M's a ball watcher. She noticed she goes left 85, 90% of the time. I think that was – we'll ask Vic what that percentage was on his scouting report, but Maddie M's a ball watcher, and good job.
And then our next super chat comes from Jack. Thank you, Jack, as always. And Jack says, Coach Shipley said that Parker Livingston had reached out to Jordan about advice on playing wide receiver. This made me think, do we bring former players into group rooms to give advice or even have cross-group meetings such as DBs and wide receivers?
I don't know that they have cross-group meetings. Are you aware of that, Jerry? I've never. Yeah. So Parker Livingston, and you're talking about Jordan Shipley, obviously. Look, Michael Huff's around. Quandre Diggs comes around every so often. Those guys go and hang out. I don't know if they're there to give actual coaching advice or just lend personal credence to the fact that hard work can allow you to get to the place you want to go, if that makes sense. I mean, look, Quandre Diggs, very talented player, always been very talented, Jerry. He didn't get there through osmosis. He worked his tail off, right? Michael Huff didn't just get there by running fast. He got there through hard work. Same with Jordan Shipley, et cetera, all these guys. So I'm with Jack that I think the more you can get former players around current players, even not necessarily coaching them, but as models for what needs to happen for them to maximize. That's very, very important to me.
And one other super chat here, fellas. This one from Mick with Jerry. Thank you for the super chat. And they asked, Jerry, who's the Kendall Weaver of our football team?
Ooh, man, that's a really good question because Roschon Johnson was, and he's in the NFL. Those are the two guys that I'd compare attitude, effort, internal leadership to. It's a good question. I need time to think about that. I'm not sure I have one right now.
Ryan Niblett, maybe?
And that's not a negative.
But Niblett's not as contributive of a player as Weaver.
Yeah, Weaver's a starter level player that starts sometimes, doesn't start others. It's a good question. I don't know. It's a good question.
Michael Taft, Cole Hudson.
A lot of people saying Taft.
Yeah, I can see that. Except he's not hyper athletic like Weaver.
Yeah.
I mean, Weaver's like one of those freak athletes that I'm not diminishing Taft's athleticism. It's just Weaver's one of those guys that jumps out of the gym. So you're not thinking about him that same way. And Taft doesn't do much on special teams. And I just, when I think of Kendall Weaver, I think a guy that would be probably unbelievable on special teams. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
Energizer Bunny type of
guy.
Yeah,
I think if you did testing on all athletes at Texas, he'd be probably a top 3 or 4 of all of them in athletic testing. I mean, he is a freak. He's a true freak athlete.
Leonga Lafau is interesting. Not the athleticism there, but the team first attitude. You know what I mean, Jerry?
Yeah.
Maybe him.
Like, you know what's crazy about Kendall Weaver? If you just sent him to the NFL Combine and he had never played before, and he showed up at 6'3", 195 pounds and ran low 4.4 and vertical 45, even if he didn't know what to do in drills, somebody's signing him, maybe even draft him. Just look at the NFL. They take power forwards and make them tight ends. If that guy showed up at the NFL Combine and tested how I heard he tests in basketball, that guy would just he'd be signed in no time. That's the level athlete that dude is.
And then one of our longtime viewers needs y'all's advice. Phil asks if y'all can recommend a slightly fancy seafood place to take his wife on her birthday. He's not trying to spend $75 per person, though. Thus the slightly fancy.
Look, I'm from Houston, and I just don't think you can go wrong with Papa's or Papados. And I know that is a chain, but it's a fairly closely held chain, family business. It's just good. It's just good. So I would go to one of those two. There are a number of others that you could go to, though, that are really good. The
whole key is where in Houston.
Yeah.
Kima, if you want the water and you want everything, then there's some spots down in Kima. If you want to add the Tillman Fertitta's Till.
Yeah, I'm not big on Kima as a whole. Sorry. My parents lived down that way.
Bill says, thank you. He appreciates it.
Happy to do it.
All right, Bobby, before we move on, I'm going to let you tell everyone out there about Vaughn Lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Vaughn Lane is a bus service, premium bus service that goes between major Texas cities like Austin, San Antonio, Fort Worth, Dallas, Houston, etc. Let's face it, these days flying is a hassle. Security lines, packed gates, delayed flights, all for a 50-minute trip. It's just not worth it. Driving isn't much better. Ever tried a same-day round trip between Dallas and Austin? That's hours of lost productivity for you and your car. Emails pile up, calls go unanswered, work left undone while you focus on the road. Why waste the day when you could stay connected and productive with Vaughn Lane? Vaughn Lane changes everything. It's luxury regional bus travel, what some call a private jet on wheels. They've got complimentary Wi-Fi, complimentary snacks and drinks on every trip, plus delicious meals on select departures. And if you need to freshen up before you hit that meeting, indulge in hot towel service, want to relax, we've got eye masks, pillows, blankets, etc. Vaughn Lane team, they take care of you and every detail of your trip so you can sit back, unwind, and enjoy the most comfortable travel experience on the road. Business travelers, recapture your productivity. Leisure travelers, if you're going to Austin, Houston, or Dallas this weekend, sit back, relax, and get pampered. And if you're planning a football game, concert, or special event, you can actually charter your own Vaughn Lane coach for the ultimate group experience. Vaughn Lane is first-class travel without hassle. See for yourself. Visit vaughnlane.com. That's VONLANE.com. Use promo code OTF25 for $25 off your first trip. Thank you very much. I think they're starting a new service or a new destination. They're now going to be leaving and arriving in Austin out of the Doubletree Hotel downtown. So very central location for folks as well.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. And you're watching Coffee and Football presented by Rick Valbro and Austin Underground. Don't forget, we'll have Schloss joining us here momentarily. And I'm going to go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. Tomorrow, we'll have Vic Schaefer on the show as well. Just got 100% confirmation on that. So he'll be joining us bright and early. So if you want to see that, make sure you hop on early tomorrow, which means I got to get the guys ready to go as well.
Hey, real quick. Somebody asked if I've seen Tiger Woods' April Fool's tweet. That's funny. The funniest April Fool's tweet yet is Steve Spurrier's Bar and Grill on Instagram. Go look up what they put out. It's unbelievable, even for Steve Spurrier.
And I think our special guest today is ready. I'm going to bring him in. Coach Schloss, how we doing this morning?
I'm doing well, guys. Good morning.
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing okay. Doing all right. I wish we had our right fielder ready to go tonight, but
that's a big injury for you guys. He was a possible National Player of the Year, but gets injured over the weekend. Max Ballou, we're talking about what's the prognosis there, and just give everybody an update, what you can, based on everything else. We understand that's difficult.
Yeah, he's awesome, man. What a great young man. He was super sick early in the season, and he fought his way back to be able to play that first weekend in Arlington, and then he was just putting together a great year, finally getting his weight back and getting stronger. And then he dove for a ball in the 9th inning on Friday night out there in right field, made the catch, but when he landed, the thumb on his glove hand kind of bent back, and so he ended up having a pretty significant injury there that is going to require some surgery. So he's trying to find the best. He's got a really good professional baseball career ahead of him, and so it's important he find the right person to fix that, and hopefully we can get that potentially done this week. And if he can do that, there's a chance that maybe by as early as the last weekend of the season against OU, but if we can scrap and claw and make a postseason, then maybe he could be back for that. I mean, I can tell you this, he's one of the tougher players I've ever coached, and if it's possible, he'll be able to pull it off, but we always have to keep his future in mind as well.
Hey, Coach, I wanted to ask you kind of a broad question here. I saw you at the Sean Miller press conference. All the coaches were there to support Sean Miller, which I thought was awesome. But now being at the University of Texas, just everything going on with Texas, the success of the whole athletic department, can you speak to that from your perspective, just being at Texas now, seeing everything that's going on, what you knew from afar, but now you're a part of?
Yeah, I mean, you feel like you understand what's going on here, but you really don't know it until you get involved. And, it's exactly the primary reason, why I made the change I made. Obviously my relationship with Chris was at the forefront of that. But it's just alignment. It's just everybody in sync from, chairman of the board, president, athletic director. There's a real culture here, especially among the sports and among the head coaches, which is really hard to create at such a prominent program. But Chris and his staff are very intentional about that, and so the level of excellence. The thing I've noticed is I don't care if it's field maintenance, if it's HR, if it's facilities, or if it's the coaches. Everybody's the best at what they do, and if you're not, then you don't see them the next day usually. That's a little facetious, but yeah, you and I do compare. There was a time at TCU when Chris was there where we really had it going. I mean, Jamie Dixon had it going in basketball. Gary Patterson was going to big bowl games and winning Rose Bowls, and we went to 5 College World Series, during the 8 years that Chris was there. And so to get that level of community that we had at TCU at a 9,000 student school, and Chris has brought that to Texas at a much bigger school, you feel it every day. And I mean, everybody's doing so well. You also feel the need to do your part. So no one has to tell you what the expectation is. And I don't think there's ever been a coach who anybody could put more pressure on them than they put on themselves. So, we're just trying to get this baseball program right to be able to live up to all the other success.
Coach, you're 8-1 in conference play. Best start, I think, for Texas in conference play in 13, 14 years, something like that. What do you attribute the quick turnaround to? Frankly, I mean, y'all are playing a good brand of ball right now and coming out on the winning side of things. Is it just the players? Is it what's the magic? What button did you push to say win?
Well, if I had that button, there wouldn't be a 1 next in the loss column, I promise. But yeah, no, it's the players. I mean, the players, it's always the players. There's never been a good coach without good players. I heard an interview with Coach Saban, I think it was just this winter, where he said, the one thing I never figured out in my coaching career was how to coach a bad player. So that's 100% true. So you got to give, the majority of the credit to those guys and then our staff and support staff. I mean, I think we've created a good culture to get us to this point, but everybody just needs to slow their roll. It's 9 games. We still have 7 of these SEC weekends left, plus some really good midweek games like we have tonight with Texas State. It can turn on any direction at any time. Injuries play a huge role in that, but everybody goes through them, and so We can't pout about Max being hurt or Rylan or Adrian being banged up. We just have to stay committed to each day. And I would say that's what these guys have done. You hear them say we have an opening day mentality or play to a standard, not a scoreboard. I mean, they've truly bought into that. And so, the water's getting deeper this weekend. Missouri is a good SEC opponent, but it's certainly not Georgia. And they're certainly not, Arkansas and some of the other teams we have, down the road. So we just got to hold serve. We all want to win championships, and believe me, I want to win championships too. But really, the goal in this conference in baseball is to get to 15 wins or more. Hopefully, give yourself a chance to be in a regional, maybe host one, and then hopefully never see an SEC team again until the College World Series, because once you get through the SEC tournament, you're prepared for everything, and that's why you see so many SEC teams every year, usually 4 in Omaha, because you're not going to face. You might face as good a pitcher from some other conference, but you're never going to face better, and you're never going to be in a tougher environment. And so we just have to survive this thing. And I think it's been, obviously the players, we've really pitched well, and that's on the baseball field, pitching and defense, and then get your timely hits.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you this. I asked Coach Schaefer early in the season when he was on the show what it would take in his eyes to maximize his team. And I love this question for you guys because every team's different. So you're 26 games in, and I'm not talking about wins, losses into the season, but from you and your staff's perspective, what are the keys to maximizing this team for you guys?
I think number one is always health. I went into the season, and this is not to discount anybody on our team, but I said, if we're going to have a great year, the very best players on our team, they have to stay healthy and they have to have good seasons, because we're just not the level of depth required in the SEC. If you have somebody go down, is very high. I mean, you need good players. And I think if you look at our program in 2 years, you'll see that. But that's going to take a couple of recruiting classes. That's going to take making it through the major league draft and holding on to 2 or 3 super special guys and then cherry picking the portal. But, our team, if we can stay healthy and keep, especially those pitchers like Grubbs, Riojas, obviously the starters, Harrison and Spencer, keep those guys healthy and catch the baseball behind them. There's never been a good baseball team without a good catcher. We got to keep Galvan healthy and in the mix. Jalen Flores, Gasparino. And then we have to stay committed to playing really good offensive baseball, especially losing Max. That's a big loss of power. And the one thing about the SEC is you have to be, and this sounds crazy, and it's kind of like the big leagues. You have to have the threat of the home run. If you're not physical, you're not going to get 9 singles against these pitchers. You're just not. You got to be able to get on base, and then someone's got to be able to impact the game with one swing, and that's real. And we have that. We lost some in Max, but there are some other guys that can do that. And so, we're also going to have to be able to handle the body blows that we have coming. I'd like to think we're going to win all the series. Maybe we will, but there's going to be a gut punch that we have to overcome, and we'll be fine if we handle it right.
You got Texas State tonight. Then you have a 3-game set with Georgia at Dish, a 6:30 game on Friday night, a 2:00 game on Saturday, and then a 1:00 game on Sunday. Jerry, you wanted to ask him, like, the talk in baseball right now.
Yeah. I got to ask you,
baseball, these new bats. I'm going to let Jerry ask you a question.
What are your thoughts on torpedo bats, and is there going to be something similar in college baseball being made now?
Yeah, you'd have to ask. I overheard Tulo the other day. You guys need to get Tulo on your show. And he said that that those kind of bats have been around for a while, I guess. I I don't really pay attention to Major League Baseball that much once our season begins. But college baseball, man, we have real severe bat restrictions, but everybody's always trying to operate in the gray area. They're trying to get that bat, including the bat companies. They're trying to get that bat to the very brink of the restrictions to have that thing perform at its best. So sometimes, I think it's not, it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. First of all, you got to take a look at who's swinging the dang bat first. I mean, if you put that torpedo bat in my hand and put me in the big league game, I don't think it's going to matter. So.
I love it. My dad always said it's not the tool, it's the mechanic.
There you go. Yeah, same thing.
I wouldn't win 18 majors with Tiger Woods putter.
That's
15,
right.
Sorry, 15.
That's right.
Coach, best of luck tonight against Texas State, and best of luck to the healthier team. Hope they get healthy, and you guys keep on winning. Top 5 team in the country right now.
All right. Thanks so much. You guys have a good day.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks for your time. Good stuff. Blake, thank you so much for setting that up for us, buddy.
Yep.
Always a good interview, and always somebody that, look, I love what he talked about with the coaches on staff at Texas and what Chris Del Conte's put together. Not only Vic Schaefer goes to the Final Four on Monday. Bob Bowman wins a swimming national championship on Saturday. They sweep Missouri over the weekend. Mike White wins 2 of 3. He's right. I mean, Texas and Chris Del Conte they have a group of coaches that understand what it means to be the head coach at the University of Texas and what kind of commitment and effort it takes to put it out there. So he mentioned alignment for one of the reasons why he's at Texas, and I think that makes a lot of sense. There's nothing in the middle of night happening to your staff that you don't know about, etc. Just a lot of good stuff going on at Texas where, Chris Del Conte, in my conversations with him, he always says that his job is to give every coach the tools to succeed so that when they have a honest discussion at the end of the year about performance, it's not, oh, well, I didn't have this, or there's no excuses. And at the same time, you got to have coaches like Jim Schlossnagle willing to take that on.
Yep.
Man enough to say, okay, let's go get it. And so hats off to him and how he's moving along with this baseball program right now at Texas.
Definitely. All right, before we move on and get to some more questions, Jerry, tell us about Mando, please.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. Let me get to the read. Why Mando is the question. Why not Mando is really the question. Geez. You know what a great product is? Like I've said before, it got delivered and it was gone. Kids my son took it. Oh, this stuff's awesome. Took it. Never saw it. That's when you know you have a great product, right? When your kids are taking them, you get them in the mail. It's a whole body deodorant, safe to use anywhere on your body, your pits, your balls, your thigh folds, your belly buttons, your butt crack, and your feet. Created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. This is clinically proven to block odor all day and control odor for up to 72 hours or a Texas A&M weekend baseball series. Mando deodorant product options are solid deodorant stick formulated and powered by mandelic acid to stop odor before it starts, or spray deodorant that's aluminum free and ideal for those hard to reach places. You can just have fun with that. All products baking soda free and paraben free. Choose from a variety of fresh scents like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport, which we all want to be great athletes. So why not let Mando help us with it? Clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. Key part of the read here. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. That is not good. With Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. That's amazing. Ranked number 1 every day when you wake up. Your grundle's ranked number 1. Want to try America's number 1 whole body deodorant formula right now? You can find them at Walmart, Target, and other retailers across the country. For the best deals, go to shopmando.com. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping as a special offer for our On Texas Football listeners. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to 40% off your starter pack using code On Texas, all caps, at shopmando.com. Make your Grundle be ranked number 1 in the country.
Number 1 in the country, huh?
Make your Grundle be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, man. All right. We got another super chat that we need to get to, guys. This one from Travis. Thank you, Travis. Good morning, brothers. Asked Rod yesterday about what y'all are up to for fan appreciation. Miss you guys and much love. Hook 'em.
Good to hear from you, Travis. We have not come up with anything defined yet because Texas hasn't defined what they're doing with Fan Appreciation Day, right? And so I don't know if there's going to be an opportunity to go watch the team practice. Maybe we do something after the practice, if they do it early. So our programming and what we want to do will depend on that, because obviously the football team comes first. So that's the problem right now that we have. We're waiting on them, but we would like to do a get together if everybody would like to go out and hang out, whether it's a tailgate or meet at a bar close to campus, etc. We'll try to do something else.
Okay, and one thing that we haven't talked about this morning, Jerry, that we just haven't had a chance to get to is recruiting. I know you got a little bit there.
Yeah, it's just a couple of guys on campus, 3 known guys on campus yesterday, all really good players. Coach Paula, the linebacker from Mady Creek, we'll shows him huddle here. If you're wondering, he's the really quick, fast guy with long arms wearing number 11 that can really sink his hips and get after the quarterback, turn the corner, sinks his hips, then powers through contact, rolls his hips, and creates power. That's Coach Paula, big Texas lean. He's got a Penn State official visit May 30th through June 2nd, Baylor, and then Texas scheduled right now. This is a guy that we've had on the Texas radar for quite a while. Plays for a couple of really good dudes in 7-on-7 in the Houston area. Plays on the same 7-on-7 team with Tyson Tank King out of Port Arthur Memorial, who's also making an official visit to Texas, but was on campus yesterday, as was Kennedy Brown, the 2027 offensive tackle from Kingwood. Hey, Kingwood's back in the news in football. It's been a while. They got some really good players up there now. Kennedy Brown, one of the top going to be junior offensive tackles in the country, monster wingspan. I think he's like 85, 86 inches at 6'5". I mean, he's way up there in the wingspan category. Texas offered Kennedy Brown January 25th, and he'll be one of the guys they go after as hard as any prospect in the 27 class. Then DeMod Lewis, a defensive lineman, kind of a 5-tech edge, 5-tech that will probably grow into an interior player out of Charlotte, North Carolina, was on campus yesterday. His brother is an NFL offensive guard for the Carolina Panthers. They moved from Seattle. He's lived with his brother. So his brother was with the Seahawks, signed with the Carolina Panthers last year, so they moved down to Charlotte. He was one of those guys, one of those 4 or 5 offers in that 24-hour period that Jeff Banks made moving around Charlotte in January. But DeMod Lewis was on campus yesterday, and we're waiting to see if he's going to have an official visit as well. But again, there's going to be some guys trickling through daily around spring practices. Felix Ojo will be in town, I believe, Friday or Saturday. There's going to be some other guys. Jet Washington should be in town at some point this weekend around an OT7, 7-on-7 tournament. Probably a corner out of California who just reclassed from 27 to 26 on one of those teams as well. So you're going to see a bunch of those guys just kind of make their way through campus. And the key thing about this is it may come without a lot of fanfare, but last year, Zealous Hicks and Grayson Littleton made their first visits to Texas around 7-on-7. And you see how that ended, right? And Texas didn't offer Grayson Littleton until later in the process. And now, by the way, he's looking really good, by the way, nickel early on. So a lot of these guys are going to be hitting campus for the first time this spring, and it may come without a lot of fanfare, but that doesn't mean Texas doesn't really like some of these kids. And there will be some that may not even be offered right now, but they may be offered in May, or they may be offered next year into the season.
Jerry, talk a little bit. There's a guy that visited, I think on Saturday, Sunday, Richie Wesley, a reclassification guy out of California, a defensive end, 6'5"-ish, 250.
Yeah,
one of the teams there.
Yeah, I mean, he had never been to Texas before. Oregon and USC were out front for him, and it's still going to be a tough competition. But Texas is going to be right in the mix for Richard Wesley, the edge out of Sierra Canyon, famous high school that's become a famous high school in recent years in Chatsworth and the SoCal area. But he reclassed from 27 to 26. He was on campus last weekend for the first time in Texas. I expect Texas to be right in the mix with Oregon and USC. But going into that visit, they did come into that visit because the kid had never been on campus, trailing by a pretty wide margin. But they're going to be in the game right there, and we'll see where it goes ultimately. He'll come back for a June official visit.
Hey,
so Dave, actually, a question about running back. Xavier Crowell, he's been a focus for well over a year, but he was in the 27 class, reclassed to 26. I saw your question up there earlier about Javian Osborne. What turned Javian Osborne off about Texas? I think that ended up being mutual, guys. I mean, just the way it all played out. I mean, I think it just ended up being a mutual deal with Texas and Osborne. So KJ Edwards is coming in the first weekend in June, and we'll see where Chad Scott goes at this position from a recruiting perspective in May when he gets out on the road, and who else maybe comes through in April for an unofficial visit. But obviously, Xavier Crowell is one of the best in the country, and I think Alabama is going to be tough to beat, but Texas is very much in the game, and he'll also visit Georgia and Auburn, maybe Florida State. I think Florida State's more of a token visit at this point. It's really going to be Alabama and Texas, and see if Auburn or Georgia can upset one of the two favorites. But I think Alabama is going to be tough to beat, but Texas is right there.
I want to mention this. We talked about David Bailey earlier, and I don't know that we mentioned this, Jerry. That's the Stanford portal player that is visiting Texas allegedly today or supposedly today. I forgot to mention this. He's from Mater Dei High School.
Yeah.
In Southern California. So Spencer Shannon, Brandon Baker, that group of players very familiar with David Bailey, and some familiarity with that school at the University of Texas, and Steve Sarkisian, obviously, as well. So,
all right, we got a another super chat here, fellas. And this one comes from Jackson S. Thank you, Jackson, as always. How do baseball injuries impact our hosting chances? And Jackson, I think it's a little too early for that. The SEC is definitely a grind this year. 5 of the top 5 teams, all SEC, 8 of the top 10, so on and so forth. I mean, obviously losing Max Ballou hurts for sure. But, and you even heard Schloss mention catcher Galvan. Having him back is going to be huge because, you know, they weren't too sure about it this weekend. But let's see how the next few weeks unfold. Gasparino looks like he may be coming into stride here. If they can get Farmer going, I think everything will be all right. One thing I did want to mention, a lot of people saying Max is going to be out, you know, for the season, whatever it may be. Even Texas came out and said he is week to week. There is a strong chance that he's back before the end of the regular season as well. So just a note to keep in mind.
Yeah, he said that on the show. He said that on the show. He said, hopefully, maybe we get him back before or for that Oklahoma weekend, very last week of the season.
I want to hit a couple of things. Somebody mentioned Amari Latimer. I think it was living rent-free. We're going to bring up Dave Atchley's question on Brad Spence. Amari Latimer, Texas still talking to Amari Latimer. I think there's a chance he visits. Obviously, he's got a couple of family members that played at Miami. He's got that official visit scheduled, but I know that Texas is still talking to Amari Latimer. So we'll see if he gets on campus here. Before we pull up that Dave Atchley question, Jumping for Joy Mode said, do you think Texas will push harder in 28 for a QB than 27? It all depends, I think, a lot on Gunnar Rivers. If the family could see Texas as a fit. Now, Texas is going to sign a quarterback in 27, but how that board plays out, I think is really going to depend on what Phillip Rivers sees. Could Gunnar Rivers be a fit at Texas with the quarterback room as it stands? I think if Phillip Rivers says, yeah, that could be a good fit for my kid, I think you're going to see Texas make a big push for Gunnar Rivers in 27. Peyton Houston has an offer right now to Shreveport Evangel. He was on campus again recently, so he's been on campus a number of times. But I think I'm really watching Gunnar Rivers here and to see what happens because you just don't know. There may be some places he feels like would be better for his kid to go from a timing standpoint. So that's one I'm watching. Somebody asked about Derek Cooper at running back. We'll see if he makes it on campus. Texas has been in contact, and he's a stud.
And you're talking about that Dave Ashley question. Dave asks, is Brad Spence getting any edge reps, or is it primarily inside linebacker?
Bobby, I don't know if we know for sure on that one, if he's taking the edge reps. He was a little limited in Torrey Becton's workouts after his transfer, so he's a little behind. He's been dealing with a little stuff, but he's out there on the practice field. I don't know that question. I know he worked out at linebacker when we were there.
Great question. We'll ask. I don't know what he's doing exclusively or non-exclusively. Let me ask and ask around, see what we can get.
And we got some more football-related questions here. James wants to know, who do you think will have the better upcoming season, Anthony Smith or LaFau?
Boy, I got to say LaFau. I mean, and here's why. I think that he's first in line at inside linebacker. I think he's ready, man. And he's already been a factor early. I mean, his first 2 years. He's 2 years, a year ahead of Ty Anthony. But we'll see. I mean, what is this? I have a hard time, and Jerry has said this multiple times. The Texas linebacker room is very, very talented. Very, very talented. How are they going to get all these guys snaps, all this stuff? Look, play 16 games, you're going to get snaps. You know, I think that's going to be the piece that they going to use, and it's correct. Go out there, win a lot of games. There's going to be enough snaps for everybody.
Well,
that's my opinion. I don't know. I would say LaFau over Ty Anthony Smith. They're slightly different players, though.
Yes,
and types of players. I think Ty Anthony Smith might make more, wow, where did he come from type of plays, whereas LaFau is going to make the same.
In between the tackles, really solid, yeah. And the interesting thing is, it's going to play out how much of a move Ty Anthony Smith makes this season. It's going to play out in games 2, 3, and 4. I really believe that because, look, he's still, after the spring, work with Torrey Becton through the summer is big for him because he put on initial 22 pounds. Now that process is going to be slower for him to build out his frame. But Texas, as Sark said, they're going to play a lot of players, a lot of snaps. And what that means is Ty Anthony Smith's going to get a lot of snaps in those games 2, 3, and 4. And, you know, you saw that LaFau kind of took over as the season moved along last year, Bobby. LaFau's got to play at a high level because there's a really good young player coming up behind him. So it's going to push him, and they are different players, to Bobby's point. I think there's a fit for all of them is what there is.
The one thing that I will say about Pete Kwiatkowski, and it's much better than he did his first couple of years in Austin. Rotationally, he's really strong. Like, do you remember, Jerry, when they used to rotate out and the guys behind them, they would rotate out like 5 guys on defense on the third possession of the game, and then the opposing team would literally walk down the field against Texas. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
They rotate out piecemeal. Two or three players come in. They get some in on the second possession, some in on the third, some in on the fourth. PK has done a really nice job, and his assistant and the assistants have done a nice job of changing up what they used to do. And I think that's part of why Texas was successful this past year. There was no, we're going to put the second team in now and let the opponent have a long drive. That didn't happen in 2024.
The linebacker question is interesting because PFF threw out their rankings yesterday, Blake. I don't know if we have that.
Oh, gosh. Yes, I accidentally was it. Give me just a second.
No, you're good. You're good. No, because it was interesting. We've talked about how, look, I think the linebacker position at Texas is going to be the best it's been in years and years this year. And I think it actually may be the most improved position on the team. And that's not a shot at the guys that graduate. That's not a shot at the guys that played. It's just a natural progression of a program at positions. We watched it with edge. Now we're watching it with linebacker. I mean, Anthony Hill and Leon Lafau coming back. Trey Moore is a hybrid guy. You have Ty Anthony Smith, right? You have Brad Smith, Spence. You have Elijah Barnes. I mean, there's more size, SEC size, depth, athleticism, just all of it combined than I've seen at Texas in a long time. And now they got to go produce. They got to go play. But I think there's so much versatility with SEC size at the linebacker spot. It really makes me excited for this position. And this is PFF. Well, no matter what you think about this PFF, yesterday they came out with top 10 returning linebackers in college football, and they had Anthony Hill number 1, Sonny Week, Sonny Styles, and Drake Bowen. But this group as a whole, I think with these guys, Anthony Hill and LaFau going into year 3, Brad Spence, year 3 as a college player, Ty Anthony Smith, year 2, Trey Moore, year 4 as a college player. And then you have the youngsters coming on like an Elijah Barnes, who is physically ready to go. You have a lot of depth and a lot of talent and a lot of versatility, and you're really going to be able to rush the passer from the linebacker spot.
This list just made me wince when I saw who they had number 2. I mean, if he's the second best come back, he still can't find Trey Wisner.
Yeah.
I mean, Torian Yarks, I don't think he's an NFL player. Good player, but I mean, he's not big enough. I mean, he gets lost in the shuffle way too much. I mean, he did not have a clue how to play outside zone against Texas.
By the way, the Whit Weeks kid's really good. His injury, he had the nasty bowl game injury.
Yeah. All right, what else we have this morning? Blake, we have any more questions or topics to get to before we get going?
We do indeed. We're going to go to the super chat here from Seth. He says, Jerry, your thoughts on the matchup of the men's and women's Final Four? What's your prediction for each?
I'll start with men's. Injuries are going to impact the Auburn-Florida game. Broome, obviously his right shoulder and elbow are all messed up. You saw that at the end of the Auburn game over Michigan State. Condon's ankle, not 100%. So I think Condon will be healthier than Broome for that game. I'm going to take Florida. I look, these games could go either way, but I am going to take Florida there. But look, it wouldn't surprise me either way. I mean, literally either way on that game. I think it's a coin flipper. Houston Duke is really interesting. That's a contrast in styles. Kelvin Sampson needs to keep this game in the 60s, low 70s. If this game gets up into the 80s, that's probably really good for Duke. Duke's the more talented team. Obviously, if I filled out a bracket this year, I'd have picked Duke and Florida to play for the title. Doesn't mean I'm right, but I just thought those two teams had a little bit more juice than everybody. The Condon injury is concerning for Florida just because he's not as effective and they run a lot of stuff through him. So if you're making me pick, I'd pick Florida and Duke to play for it all. But Houston has to really control the pace of that game. For their half-court defense to take over, that game can't be played in the 80s. If that game starts getting up and down, that's good for Duke and not good for U of H because that's just not the style they play. And the women's, look at UConn and UCLA is interesting because UCLA is really good. And is Paige Becker's going to keep throwing 30 on the board because she's going to have to. And they're really good. Az Fudd was off last night. I think she missed her first 9 shots against USC. But that was USC without Juju Watkins. So I think UConn, UCLA, they're going to have to roll with Paige Becker's 30-point game against UCLA. UCLA is really, really battle-tested, older team. South Carolina, Texas, 4th meeting. Man, South Carolina's I think they're going to clog the paint and say, make shots.
It's going to be bloodletting.
Yeah.
There's going to be some scratches and blood on the floor in that game because the styles are very similar in that regard in how they play. I mean, they go all out for the entire 40 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's hard. It's hard to sit up here and pick winners in these games. I mean, because somebody could get hurt in the first half of a game and it changes the game. Your best player, Full Wiley or Madison Booker, may not be able to throw it in the ocean, and then your team's going to lose. If your top perimeter player has a bad game. But that South Carolina Texas game is going to be really, really interesting. South Carolina's won 2 of 3 this year, and South Carolina, when they lost their one of their top 3 bigs, maybe their second best big early in SEC play, they weren't going to be the same team, and I don't think they're as good, but they're still so talented. But it's toss up. Those are toss up games. They really are.
I'll say this: I think that Texas is a 50-50 matchup with South Carolina. That's just the way it's been this year. But if anybody beats UConn, it's going to be because somebody on the other team had a unbelievable game, and maybe 1 or 2 players for UConn did not. I'm
hoping we get to talk about a UConn Texas final, because it will be one of the contrast in styles, and it's going to be that game. If UConn and Texas both got to the national championship game on the women's side, it would be like the Duke-Houston game. It would be like Ariema would try to speed it up and get his shooters in space before Texas can set up their half-court defense. And then Vic Schaefer would be playing to slow that game down and keep it in the 60s so his half-court defense and pressure defense can rule the pace of that game. I think from a basketball junkie standpoint, I hope we see that game from that standpoint. Also, you hope Texas gets a chance to play for a national championship. And it might be the same for South Carolina and UConn, because UConn went to South Carolina and beat the hell out of them. They won by 35, or was it 28 or something in South Carolina? South Carolina lost for 70 games at home, and UConn went in there and stomped them. But if Texas and UConn play, it's going to be very similar to the Houston-Duke game on the men's side. It's going to be a fight for pace in that game and who can control pace to get them, because UConn's the more talented team offensively. But then Vic's job in that game on a quick turnaround, by the way, would be to slow it down and play it at his pace where his team and their style of play could take over. That's the fun thing about basketball right there. You're going to get one of those games on the men's side. In the women's final, if UConn beats UCLA, whether it's Texas or South Carolina, it's going to be the same thing as U of H Duke on the men's side.
And just another reminder, Coach Vic Schaefer will be joining us tomorrow morning, bright and early, 8:15, he says. So he'll be getting your day started the right way. All right, Bobby, before we get to our last question of the day, tell folks out there about Rick Vavro and Austin Underground one last time.
Yeah, Austin Underground has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations since 2004. The team's engineering background gives Rick Vavro and his team the ability to perform work other firms often consider too risky. You see all those big high-rises going up downtown. Well, underneath the ground, Rick Vavro and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. They also have a sister company called Texas Road. If you need large road installations, make sure you reach out to Rick and his team at Texas Road.
And we do have a super chat comment before we get to that last question. This one from It's 420 Somewhere. Thank you. Can we give a huge shout out to Oldacre for her play last night? She stepped up and made some huge plays at the end to keep TCU at bay.
Yes, she actually on an inbounds play in TCU's half of the court, she defended Sedona Prince, tipped the ball away, and then it took it on her own. And this is a young lady that's 6'5", and a true post player, by the way. Took it the length of the court, 3/4 of the court, and picked up a foul from Sedona Prince that made Sedona Prince, that's the big 6'7" woman that TCU had inside, got a foul and the bucket. And I think it gave Texas a 9-point lead once she did that. And while TCU did try to make a game of it somewhat late, that I thought was maybe the play of the game that most defined the entire game.
Yeah. And she said in the post-game press conference, I totally agree with her. If you smoke the layup or miss the layup on that play, you never live it down, because the bigs are always talking about, hey, why you keep missing these point blanks, right? If you get your chance and you smoke the layup, you never live it down with your teammates. And she pretty much said that in the post-game. She's like, I had to make the layup. Exactly. Because if you smoke the layup, you never live those down in the locker room ever. Because the bigs are always like, stop missing the point blanks. Well, don't miss one yourself on the break.
And last one for today, fellas, comes from Joshy. Have we gotten any updates on how the tight ends look?
Well, we mentioned earlier, unfortunately, Jordan Washington's being hampered by a shoulder / labrum issue. He left practice yesterday, we're told from behind the scenes. He is going to get an MRI. We'll see what results from that. But Spencer Shannon's been there. Amari Winston has looked good at times, the young freshman out of Georgia. But if there is a position right now that is thin, it really looks like there's two on offense, wide receiver and tight end. Right now, Spencer Shannon is the only one that's seen any action in a game, I believe, that actually is on the roster. So Longhorns very likely, in my opinion, going to have to go to the portal come April 15th for a tight end. We've talked about it all off season. I think that the fact that Jordan Washington now injured cements that fact into reality.
Hey, Blake, I got to leave with this piece, because I'm not giving advice, but I want to say this. I'm doing my second 24-hour fast in 3 days. If any of you guys in the chat have ever thought about doing this, but are like, this is literally the best my body has felt in years. And all I'm doing is a coffee, a little unsweet tea, and a lot of electrolytes and water with 0-calorie electrolytes. If you ever thought about it, you're like, that was me. I'm here to tell you, a 24-hour fast, my body feels amazing. So I decided to do it again. If anybody out there that's contemplating it, this is not April Fool's. It really is. 24-hour fast. I was telling Blake, and we were texting about it. My body feels awesome.
Good stuff. And don't forget Cure for those electrolytes when you do it.
There you go.
As they are an OTF sponsor. All right, y'all. Well, that's going to do it for today's edition of Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Favreau and Austin Underground. I want to thank them, along with Mando and Vaughn Lane, for sponsoring today's show. Of course, a big shout out to Coach Schloss as well for joining us today. We appreciate that. And then again, we'll have Coach Vic on tomorrow to talk a little women's hoops as well. But first, Bobby, what do you have coming later today right here on OTF?
Jerry, I think, and Jeff Howe are going to talk a little recruiting today on the recruiting breakdown. Please watch that, because I think there's some news that could, I don't know if it's going to break, but could be something to watch for today. Jerry's on top of that, as well as we have the live stream tonight beginning at 7 o'clock. Aaron Hogan will be hosting along with Rod Babers and CJ Vogel. So get a chance to watch. We also have a lot of stuff going on Texas football. Tomorrow, Texas gets back after it on the football field. They're off today for spring camp. They were there Monday. They're back on Wednesday. We'll see how that goes.
There you go. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live, post content. That way you don't miss anything like what Bobby just told you about. And then be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. If you're not a member, become one very easily. Promo code OTFOG will let you lock in an annual subscription for $49.95. But you got to use that promo code OTFOG. Got a great community building over there. Come get your questions answered. We obviously can't get to all of them right here on Coffee and Football, but we can answer them over there. So come join us on that. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you then.
Okay.